So tonight we will continue to paint those Khorne Berzerkers. I think they are pretty challenging for someone who is considering himself an amateur in miniature painting. So I'm trying out a classic technique. My other miniatures are mainly a result of speed painting and some hacky techniques that allow me to paint my armies real quick. So this time I have decided to give those little guys a chance and to paint them properly without resorting to any hacks and so on. So right now I am putting a second coat of this brassy brass Vallejo paint, and I think it's going pretty good, all things considered. I will try to keep my miniature in the reach of my camera, but it can be tough. As you can see, I am creating these purple shadows underneath the red armor. I think it looks pretty cool, and I saw it on one tutorial and I have decided to give it a go. It's not looking bad, I think. So, second coat with brassy brass. I'm just making sure that there is no place that pops up with black color. I will try to mix gold and silver parts here. So I think this guy will have enough of this paint for now. I can always circle around and paint it again. So yeah, there is this first guy that I tried with this method. I think all things considered, it's pretty okay for a beginner. And there is this guy that I barely touched. So it certainly requires a second coat. Yeah, I messed up with this part of the helm. I needed to repaint it again. So I scratched the paint, cleaned it, and I will need to give it a second go. So yeah. I thought a lot about what to say on those live shows of mine, and I considered getting into politics because I am very preoccupied with politics in my country, which is Poland. I think that those topics are pretty polarizing, so it's good for me as a content creator. But I really don't know if I want to get that angry and if I want to ruin the painting with some ramblings about politics. So maybe that's not the best idea ever. Yeah, the paint is pretty diluted, and I am using wet paint. I will try to compensate with another portion of the paint. So yeah, I will mix it well and then give it a second go. Yeah, it's pretty diluted, but that's what I'm aiming. add. Okay, oops. Yeah, so regarding 11th edition, I think that would be worth mentioning. I am, as a huge Horus Heresy 2nd edition fan, I am very pleased with the new rules regarding terrain. I always thought that L-shaped ruins are a terrible idea, and I really didn't enjoy playing on those. I don't think that WTC will adopt more interesting ruins, because in tournament environment, lore and doing something regarding like the feeling of the play is considered not necessary, which is amazing to me, because I was raised on old codices in 40k, in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and there always were some set of explicit rules for forbidding playing against the spirit of the game. There was this section called Spirit of the Game, and it said that what is most important is to feel the game, to understand that you are recreating a fictional scenario and you are doing something to better imagine the fantasy forces going around on the battlefield. And I always thought that this is the point of the game, and it doesn't really matter who will win or lose, because it is a game of chance. Later, this one friend who played Ninth Age, he said to me that this game is about mitigating a random chances, which is, I think, also true, but it puts this really unnecessary pressure on the game, and it dictates that it should be in its core competitive. I don't think that is the case. Yeah, but what can you do? It is what it is. So I think the nuisance of creating new 3rd edition Heresy army is not worth going into that system again. I sold all my miniatures for Horus Heresy, which was really tough for me. It was like a big decision that haunted me for months. But yeah. Okay. I think I will give this guy a rest so the paint will dry, and then I will have a second go at it. Yeah, so that's it for this guy. He will wait patiently for a second round, and I will try to do this guy, which is far more interesting, because he has some black belts. He has quite interesting pattern on his ears, so to speak. And this pattern on his shoulder pad is really nice. Let's see how it will go. So I will try to scoop as much paint as possible without getting it too wet. And let's see. Yeah. I will try to be as thorough as possible, but it's really hard to keep him in place while painting. Yeah. I think it's not going bad. Not going bad at all. Yeah, so regarding Horus Heresy, it would have been an amazing game if we could all agree that we are building this idea of an army that you are collecting, painting, and playing the whole time. But unfortunately, there are some things that I learned about the third edition of the Horus Heresy that prohibits me from having that army. Because if you will have an army not consisting of sufficient number of line units, for example, for World Eaters, it would have been like this unit of, I don't know how they are called, not Berzerkers, but those melee tactic marines. The spoilers. Oh, yeah. So if I will not have enough despoilers, I do not stand any chance of winning any game with them. So I don't think that it is a good idea to get into narrative game that requires you to be somewhat competitive to be able to play at all. So in the second edition, which I think was really, really great, I had an amazing time playing with some friends until I recognized the game for what it is. And this game was pretending that it's not competitive and building super competitive lists that would have to evolve every time we meet. It would take a lot of time to paint and print those because like the printing of those miniatures was the best way to get new units on the battlefield, especially that people were considering those units as necessary. For example, when Scorpius was released from GW, everybody was starting to use them, and soon enough there wasn't any game without two Scorpiuses because they were just that good. Those were the only choice for getting rid of big dreadnoughts. Big Terminator units. This was an only option to get rid of the heavy infantry and last cannon squads, which were always mandatory. So this was a game of rock, paper, scissors, where, for example, if your opponent would take a tank and you wouldn't have any last cannons, then you were pretty much fucked. And if you would take last cannons, but they would go all infantry, then those last cannons were really shitty and not necessary because they cost a lot and every return fire could destroy them. So yeah. This one time, a friend of mine took like 5 dreadnoughts, which at the time were most OP units in the game. And we are having a laugh about this because I am pointing that out every time I am seeing him. And this one time he saw me complaining about this on the internet, but to this day I think it's his fault for for doing that stuff. So yeah. So second edition had its problems, but learning the third edition from scratch is just not worth it for me. I have decided to move into 40k, which is like really simplified, streamlined version of this game. But once you get a hang of the missions and the secondaries, it really can be nice and you can have your fun with this game. And the models are quite nice, very detailed and more dynamic than in Heresy, which is always something nice for me. Yeah. So not bad, not bad. Also there is a old world, which is very interesting system. I like it a lot. I am finishing League in this one store, and I am starting giving like intros for the old world in the second club, which I am really excited about. Because there is a chance for me to gather some people that have the same philosophy as me. They would like to move some regiments, roll some dice, and see who will win. Not necessarily playing tournament games and downloading the lists from the internet, which is very common. For example, I think orcs and goblins are pretty much fact in Old World, tournament-wise, unless they are taking some goblin fanatics. So in every list of orcs and goblins, you will see the goblin fanatics, which I think is pretty fun unit. And don't get me wrong, I really, really like it. But seeing them on every list is somewhat disappointing, because you will always know what you will be heading up against. So yeah, that is it. But the same goes for Tomb Kings. Every 1000 list will be consisted of poison archers and or 60 block of tarpid skeletons. Every 2.2k list will consist of at least one dragon, Tomb King on the dragon, which is crazy good. Yeah, I fucked it. Sorry. Every Beastman Brayheads tournament list will have at least one hog, one razor gore, which is really good, and mandatory gigantic chaos spawn, which is amazing on its own, and it's also widely used in chaos lists, because when you are putting it on the table, your opponent will have a problem with this unit, and he will have to keep an eye out for this unit for the rest of the game. And it is really tough to destroy great Nurgle spawn in a Old World match. So yeah. So the 3 games I played 40k in League in my local club. The first one was against Blood Angels. Sorry, Salamanders. Really nice guy, very good match. I lost 20 to 0, which was expected because I got a little overexcited and just played for shits and giggles and decided to do stuff that I wouldn't normally do, like using stratagem to jump over some units that I was charging and then letting them die because of this move, which was really dumb, even for me. Yeah, but the second game was with AdMech, which was really rewarding because I learned a lot about AdMech and how to play. I am last in this league. I checked it today and I got pretty sad, but it's okay. I'm learning, so nothing to be really worried about. I am trying not to be a sore loser, but it can be challenging at times, considering my results, both in Heresy and in 40k. But also I'm just starting out, so I played like 3 real games. So yeah, that is it. So I think those streams are coming up pretty nice. They are not the best streams that I have ever done, but it could be a far worse paint job. Yeah. $40k rambling. So that is it. I really enjoy putting those gold strokes on those metal parts. I botched it. I botched it here and there, but it's not that bad. I think most of them are fixable and coverable. I will shade it eventually, so there's nothing to be ashamed about. Yeah. Something like this. Yeah. Maybe this little ring also should have been painted. Yeah, it's not bad, I think. I will try to fix those ears. and the back of it. Which is quite rewarding, I think. Yeah. There will be a second coat of it later. And this little golden stud on the back of his head, keeping the helm in place, I believe. I imagine. Okay, not bad. After washing it with sepia wash, it will come out as more natural, I think. But it is a long way to go. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad at all. The fifth one, so it will mark the half of this unit. Let's see what we are dealing up against. Yeah. So this guy, I will try to put on some more brassy brass. Thanks Jakub Czekański for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Okay. Let's see. What do we have here? I will start with the ears. The first coat would be really transparent, so I will fix it with a second wave later. I will try to keep it as tidy as possible. And then I will move back. I think I overdid it. But yeah, let's see. When it will dry, I will see if I need to correct it in any way. I think that the forehead is the most delicate place on this miniature. It is a really tough spot. Also, the sides of his head. Quite challenging, but I think we made it. Yeah. So this miniature has this like spike on the top of his head, which should be also golden. Yeah, at least in my interpretation of this miniature. So I really like gold. I painted a lot of gold on my Dev Guard, Requiem in Pace Dev Guard, because they are sold. And it really came out quite nice. And I have used Nilach oxide, which is a paint that imitates a sort of rust that gathers around, like it's like oxidation of a brass. So I have a Vallejo counterpart, which is called Green Rust, and I will try to treat my Berzerkers cold elements with this paint, and we will see how it will go. I am full of hope. I really want them to come out as nice as possible, but I think it's always the point, and it's really hard to achieve, especially under the time constraints that I have, like me being a father and so on. I have great plans for my armies, but they do not always work out. Yeah, so the shoulder pad. I like really like painting shoulder pads on those guys. Very rewarding piece of equipment. Yeah, just moving carefully around those areas. As you can see, I filled the center with gold paint. I will try to remove it, but yeah, I don't think that would be possible. But on the other hand, when I will use sepia wash, which is something like that, this little spot shouldn't be visible at all. It will fill with sepia and it will be, the mistake won't be noticed. Oh, I can see that my boss just sent me, my former boss, because he just quit, just sent me his new army for Warhammer. He today lost 20-0, which is a bread and butter for me, but a new thing for him. Yeah. I think that not being a sore loser is always about being surprised uh, when you are winning, and to expect realistic outcome. And since I do not play that much, the realistic outcome for me is always getting beaten to shreds by more experienced players. Last time I was in Pandemonium Club, I talked with an owner, and she said, "Oh, I'm also bad at Warhammer, but I got good lately." So I asked, "How many games are you playing on average, like monthly?" And she said, like 3 or 4 per week, which is unimaginable for me. Like, I don't think that I could play 4 games per week, even in my teen days. So yeah. I will shut up for a moment. I really want to get those dreams right. And And it proves to be more and more difficult for me, especially in the evening time when my eyes are tired and it's hard to focus. Especially that I spend like on my working hours near the screen, which is also tiring. Yeah. I haven't decided what to do with these kneecaps. They're looking very good. The cover photo on the box indicates that it should be painted red, but I'm not convinced, to be honest. I am thinking about making them like silver or maybe even gold. But I haven't decided yet, so I have decided to leave it black for now. Yeah. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Not great, not terrible, I think. Now I understand how incredibly talented you have to be to sit with your mic on like for several hours and to just tell some stories, even if those stories are rather boring and not that great at all. It it you would have to have something in you that will allow you to speak confidently for 3 hours, for example, and to laugh and to express emotions, especially while doing something like playing a game or something like that. I believe that it is extremely difficult, and I am so grateful that I have my job and I can stream just for fun without this pressure to be heard and so on. Yeah. Okay. So okay, last shoulder pad on this guy. I will make it the sign of world eaters. I will make it green on the inside. I really like the idea. I saw it on at least 2 different tutorials, so I think it would be it won't be too radical or anything like that. Just looks awesome and gives them a new color that will match their eyes. Sorry, my camera drifted again. So my model drifted again from camera. Yeah. So yeah, not bad, I think. Oh, again, sorry. I will have to put like some X that will mark the spot when where I have to paint to make it visible from my camera. It's more difficult than it looks to stay in place. Okay, one last round with a brush here. Okay, and I need to make sure that this trim is covered nicely because I can see that it is not. I have there is a huge upside of using brassy brush because it dries really quickly, and sometimes I can do a second go over some place that I painted like 2 seconds ago. I think it's really nice. Okay, so this part will be more difficult on this miniature, but it's nothing crazy. Like the green visors that I will have to paint on those. This will be a pain in the ass. Eyes are always the worst in miniatures, I think. But when you are painting an eyes, you are always prepared for eyes. And when you are doing other stuff, sometimes it may surprise you how difficult it is to paint something. For example, those arrows. Really shitty. Really shitty place to make a mistake, because it's, of all the places, it's most difficult to get rid of. Yeah, it's not that bad. I will make this part and this silver, so I will not make any fuss of it, and this part will be less seen on the battlefield, so I will just move over it with a brush, which is a quick and dirty way of painting it. Just barely okay. Okay, so something like that. Nobody will pick up this miniature to see it up close from this point of view, so I think it's just okay. Maybe I will correct those stars so they wouldn't be as shitty. Yeah, something like that. And another round here and there. It's okay. It's better on the outside, worse on the inside, but who cares? It will all be washed with sepia wash and it won't matter in the end. I sure fucking hope so that it won't matter, because I have made a lot of effort to paint those guys the way I do, and if they will look weak, I will be really pissed off. Sometimes I think that painting battle-ready miniatures is they came up better than like classic method miniatures. Yeah, something like that. So, I missed some trims on the legs. Going over this right now. Nothing fancy. Just up here. Oh, I'm drifting again. Oh, yeah. Okay. That is it, I think. Correct those. So that is it. Okay. He looks pretty nice. My girlfriend just joined in. Sześć, 7. Patka? Kto to jest Jakub Czekański? So last one for today. Dobrze. Now I'm trying to clean this gold color from his ear, but it's not so easy, and I'm afraid I made it worse. I will have to probably repaint the red color inside his so-called ear, but it's not that bad. But I think I will just finish for today, because I need to make sure that it will dry completely before I will start to paint it again. Yeah, so I think that is it. Maybe I will just move over the back of his head, because it's always a good idea to put some paint in first as a first round, and to correct it with a second one when it dries. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. It pulls, which is kind of strange, but I added too much water. Okay, So that's it. I will do the rest of those guys like maybe on the weekend. Let's see. I will zoom out just to display those guys. I think they will look great on the table. So first guy like this. Second guy like this. Yeah. And so on and so forth. So that's it. Thanks for watching.